Alright guys, so I stumbled across this pretty insane debate between so-called anti and pro-feminist. Okay, now they're debating a number of issues. And this is from Vice debates, including abortion, trans rights, and Me Too. Now, the part of this debate I'm going to react to, right, is the part about trans rights, specifically biological men being able to compete against biological women in sports. And I got to tell you guys, the delusion from the so-called pro-feminists is absolutely insane. Or some of these women. I'm not sure if you can call them feminists when you are pro-men being able to dominate women in sports and women not having their own spaces. But hey, I mean, again, I don't know what the modern day definition of feminism is. All I know is that some of these women are clearly delusional. So I want to react to this, but before we get into this, I have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Virtual Shield. Our passwords, bank accounts, and personal data are more vulnerable to hackers than ever before. That's why hundreds of thousands of savvy internet users have turned to Virtual Shield VPN. Virtual Shield's VPN has exceptional speeds, a strict no-log policy, military-grade encryption, is US-based, and my personal recommendation for online privacy. And as you guys can see here, this is my current setup when I'm unprotected by Virtual Shield. Okay, when I don't have my VPN turned on. It's very easy to turn on. All you gotta do is just click the connect button and it turns on, and voila, you're now protected. Okay, you're on a virtual private network. Your IP address changes. Okay, so now you are protected online when you are surfing. Now, for me personally, one of the most unique and cool benefits about using this VPN is when I'm traveling, my search results are not the same because I'm not in the same location as I am at home, right? So when I use a VPN, I like to connect to a place close to home. That way, my search results for Google and when I'm researching things are the same as they would be at home. And I find that to be very, very, very helpful when I'm trying to access certain local news stories that may not have access in certain locations or countries. So with that being said, you can avoid sporting event blackouts, access local websites which are blocked outside of state borders, watch television premieres before they show up in your time zone, stop hackers from seeing your keystrokes, passwords, and accessing your work file. Protect yourself now, starting with a free 60-day trial during Virtual Shield's New Year's special simply by going to virtualshield.com/BCP. Again, you can go to virtualshield.com/BCP. Get the fastest no-log VPN today, 78% off, lifetime discount. Start protecting yourself today. All right, so without further ado, let's just get into this.
I want to talk about transgender issues. Should trans women be included in feminist conversations? How about in women's spaces?
Yes, they're women.
Jesus Christ. Wow. Wow.
What's the question?
Pearl,
Trans women are women.
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
So I play semi-pro basketball, semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces because I don't think it's a fair. I think as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what a barrier is.
There's less. It's not. No. It's
That's
based
what
on the
friction
market.
means.
Okay.
Hold on, guys.
Okay, so again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not.
Facts. You're not as entertaining as the men. And that's okay. That's totally fine. Women have their spaces where they're going to do better than men, and men have their spaces where they're going to do better than women based off the free market. That's totally fine. Again, none of these so-called feminists, they're not advocating for men to get equal pay among strippers, right? With female strippers, they're not advocating for that, or for male models to get equal pay as women models. Again, the barriers, right? The so-called barriers, they only matter when it comes to women trying to make the same amount of money or be in a man's space. It doesn't apply the other way around, okay? The male model that wants to make a ton of money, right? The barriers there that don't matter, right? That don't count. They never talk about it. They never mention that. It only is a barrier when we're talking about women, okay? And, she's just right. I mean, Pearl is 100% correct. I mean, it's just not as entertaining. And that's it. That's not necessarily a barrier as much as that's just reality. That's the reality of the free market.
And so it's like you're going to take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is, we can't compete. We can't. I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's going to body me.
And what happens if I go up against you?
Even if I have years more of training. And so it's like you're taking away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for. And you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like this will be the end of women's sports.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one more thing I want to say here. Do I particularly care about women's sports to watch it? Not really, unless it's MMA, right? Women's MMA is actually very entertaining. And tennis as well too, right? But I mean, I do care enough that I don't want the women who do compete to have to compete against biological men if they don't want to, right? Again, I care enough for them not to get hurt, for women to be able to thrive in their own space, even though I might not care enough to watch as much as I watch men's sports.
Have you tried confidence?
Eli, hold on, Minnie.
Sorry, confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches.
Confidence can't make me 6'7". So hostile. She's sharing her experience
can't make me 6'7".
No, she's sharing.
And I'd have to go.
No, she's not. She's a woman who's had an experience.
Hold on, one at a time.
You guys are so obsessed with your own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting here telling you, "I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and this situation is not helping women," you guys are like, meh, meh, meh. But when you're like, "I'm a black person that did this, and this," then it's valid and fair and viable.
Eli, I want to give
Facts. She's right. She's 100% right. If you are a woman with the wrong opinions, you might as well be a man, right? You might as well be a straight white male to be more specific, okay? But if you are a black woman, a black liberal woman to be more specific, and you say that you have an experience, everybody's supposed to listen to you. Everybody's not even supposed to just listen to you. They're supposed to take what you say and capitulate to your demands to make life easier for them because they feel oppressed and victimized. But again, when it's a woman that's, not black, if you have the wrong opinion, that is, if it's not a liberal opinion, if it's not a feminist opinion, then that opinion should be disregarded. Okay? Your feelings as a woman doesn't matter. It's just funny how that works. Again, a lot of it really is more along political lines than racial lines because we've seen, black conservative women, when they come out and they say stuff like Candace Owens, oh, she's a white supremacist, right? Her opinion doesn't count as a woman, okay? So it's more along political lines than really race, but I'm just saying, what she's saying, her point there is very valid, okay?
you the chance to respond.
So this is basically a joke of a talking point. Everyone has biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
I'm 5'8". Mm-hmm. I am a trans woman. You would crush me. You would absolutely crush
me. Bone density, wrist strength, muscle density. You can't switch those.
Yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here too. So Michael Phelps produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused him to swim better than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody contested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies. And now I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate, but there are, every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had 7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be personal.
Yeah, so before we get on to this, here's what I'm saying. This is what's missing, right? What the argument that transgender person is making is essentially that, well, one, when these men go on these hormones, these feminizing hormones, then that just makes everything equal. That's not true. Right, it doesn't change bone density, doesn't change hand size, it doesn't change the length of their limbs, it doesn't change a whole lot of advantages that men have over women when it comes to sports. It's not just about, muscle mass or, how feminine somebody looks or appears. That's not just what it's about. right? Men are born with certain advantages that they're going to retain for the rest of their lives simply due to being exposed to more testosterone. So even if they get on feminizing hormones like having more estrogen, that's not going to take away the benefits that they have simply from being exposed to testosterone for most of their lives. Furthermore, this person is trying to say that, well, Pearl, because Pearl is tall, she's a tall basketball player or whatever. Well, everybody has genetic advantages and disadvantages. And it's like, yes, that is true. However, we're talking about the difference, the average difference, the variance between men and women in regards to athletic advantages. On average, a man is going to have a much greater advantage over women on average. Obviously, there are going to be situations where you're going to have men that are going to be born that are just simply not going to be that athletic. And there may be some top tier women that could beat that man, right? In a certain sport or endeavor or whatever. But on average, a man is simply just going to be superior athletically than a woman. And that's just, and that's the problem. Yes, you're going to have some women that are going to be born with great genetic advantages over other women, but that advantage is not nearly as much as it would be for literally just an average man going against women. And that's the point that they're missing here.
This space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down.
This woman's crazy. This woman's crazy. If she's married, God bless her husband. Right? There's no way this woman's married. If she is married again, that guy has to be. Yeah. I feel bad for that guy.
Told to be quiet. We get spoken down too as well. So there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Okay, we're having a conversation about transgender women participating in sports, and I wanted to allow more people to participate. Jordan, I wanted to hear from you.
So I am not a professional athlete. The closest thing I have ever done to anything athletic was I used to do competitive show choir when I was younger. And I don't feel really qualified to make carte blanche statements about whether or not trans women should compete in every kind of sport. And I understand that that is that's a hard pill to swallow. And for me, my first inclination is to approach everything through a lens of inclusivity. But at the same time, I also can't speak accurately to every kind of sport and the different things that go into it. So I really think in these instances, the decisions are best left up to the professional governing bodies that dictate these particular sports.
I just feel like in places, as an ally, in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, like, our opinions don't fucking matter.
Eli, I saw you.
Yeah, so just capitulate to everything the woke mob wants. Capitulate to everything that transgender people want. Anything they say is their right, just capitulate to it, no matter what. This is how we get to a point where literally trans rights has become about being able to teach kids or talk to kids about sex and gender in school, because we have to capitulate to everything they want, no matter what it is. Okay, no matter what it is, shut up. Just, your opinion doesn't matter, whatever, right? Like, these people, again, have more say-so and more leverage than anybody else in society because they're victims.
Nodding your head over there?
Several times. This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people.
You have free and equal participation to free and equally participate in whatever sport aligns with your biological sex. Or you can make your own league, right? You can create your own league. I have no issues with transgender people having their own league where they compete amongst themselves, and if that's what they want to do, fine. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But biological women should not be forced to compete with biological men. It's really that simple.
In social life. And the right sees this as a socially acceptable way to begin to remove trans people from different engagements in our society. So it does just start with sports or bathrooms or locker rooms, something that they find is more acceptable. And then at this point, they start to move into education, getting trans teachers fired, banning trans books. This is a route that is very effective because it's seen as more acceptable. But it's also overlooking a lot of major details. Like, I mean, do y'all know how many trans women have won national titles?
One too many.
One. It's Leah Thomas is the only one.
Too many.
If
One too many.
if women's sports were actually going to end in some way, I mean, it's just not happening. Wouldn't you think there would be more trans women in sports when the majority of states do allow trans women full participation? And
yeah, so here's the thing. Here's the funny part about this. This person literally just made a slippery slope argument for why we should just allow transgender people to do whatever they want to do, right? Including compete against, the opposite sex in sports and, for example, talk to kids about sex, right? Slippery slope, because if we don't allow them to do that, then we're essentially going to be erasing trans people from society, right? She's making a slippery slope argument. However, the slippery slope argument of, well, if you let trans people play in these sports, do whatever they want to do, you can see that one already won a national championship. That, in the future, as this thing becomes more popular, we're going to see more of this, and women's sports will be in danger because you'll have a bunch of men that are trying to compete in women's sports as they see that it's much easier to win. Apparently, that slippery slope argument, that don't count, right? That's invalid, right? That's invalid.
international titles, 0. No global titles have ever been won by a trans woman.
But there will be. That's the argument. It's a slippery slope. Because if we allow it now, they're going to keep doing it, and it's going to become more popular and more normalized, which is exactly what these people want. And then 20, 30 years from now, we will be talking about how, transgender women are making up half of, the college gate national championship winners or whatever. We will be talking about it if we allow it to keep going the way it's going. That's the problem.
I want to move on to a different topic. I want to talk about Me Too.
Yeah, we're not getting into that, right? Not for this video. So yeah, again, as you can see it, the delusion. I don't see how you can call yourself a feminist. And I'm not saying all these feminists or the ones that call themselves feminists actually agree with this, but I'm just saying I don't see how you can call yourself a feminist and then turn around and support biological men competing against biological women in sports. But then again, a lot of these women are simply afraid to tell the truth and to say what they actually really think because they don't want to get canceled and called trans misogynistic, right? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.